What's up, everybody? This is Greg Santos. Welcome to episode 47 of CEO Life. You are the CEO of your life, whether you like it or not. Today, I have a very special edition of the podcast. I'm actually doing a video podcast now, so you can check that out on YouTube at CEO Life Podcast. And I'm going to start having guests on my podcast, so you can check out the visuals on there. For those of you watching on YouTube, you can listen to my podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and also Anchor. Today, my guest, my good friend, my buddy, Chris. I met Chris about 2 or 3 years ago. I actually met him working in a sales position. We were selling Facebook ads to real estate agents. And when I met Chris, one thing that I really liked about him was he had a very powerful mindset. I remember the first thing I asked him was, what do you want to do when you get older? Because Chris was like 23 at the time. And I was like, what do you expect to be when you're 30? He says, I want to be a millionaire. And I was like, okay, well, who knows, right? I didn't believe it at first. I'm like, who is this guy? But then as I started hanging out with him a lot more, I started to really see the mindset that this guy has. And I was like, whoa, this guy actually listens to the kind of stuff that I listen to, reads the kind of books that I'm interested in. And I was like, wait, he's not just talking shit. This guy is legit dedicated towards being a millionaire. He's not just saying it. So I want to welcome my good buddy, Chris. Hey, man, welcome to the podcast. I'm glad to have you here, man.
Thank you for having me, brother. I really appreciate you. You know, what you're doing is so amazing. You're sharing all the value with people, and I know that you're actually going to impact some people's lives. This is actually going to make a difference. What you're doing, man, you're serving others, you're helping them, and this is what the world needs, man. So thank you for having me today. Thank you.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. So the biggest premise of this podcast is showing people that you are in control of your life. Right. You know, you have the power to decide to do something about your life. So there's typically what you'll see is growing up, people have all these messages put into our brain. We got to go to school. We have to, behave a certain way. Right. And there's a point where for some of us, we end up stumbling upon this other world with just a tremendous amount of successful people that are teaching people how to do exactly what they did. Right. So I want to dive into, what was your life before you actually came into personal development? What were the first things that got you into this, and how has your life been like afterwards?
Okay, perfect. So a little bit about my background. I basically come from single mom, raised, and we come from a poor background. My mom, she's never been financially, stable. She's, working all her life, obviously. Now, what basically got me to personal development was me really just observing things, observing these people with a lot of money, observing these successful people, happy people who actually made an impact in their lives and obviously in the lives of others. So I started observing this, and I'm like, how did this person get there? I want to be like that guy. I want to be like the guy who has a lot of money. I want to be like the guy who's happy. I want to be like that guy who's, fit. So what I started doing was I just started looking for answers, man. And what happens is, it's basically like, I'm not sure if you've heard of this. I'm sure you have. But basically your brain will search for what it is that you're looking for, right? If you're looking for the wrong thing, your brain's going to show you all the things that are wrong in life. If you're looking for the right thing, your brain's going to obviously show you everything that's right. So I feel that just me having that desire to just become better, change my environment, is really what has really impacted my life and really got me to improve myself. So I remember the first book I've ever ran into of personal development was Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And it happened so that I was starting a clothing line at that time. I was probably around maybe like 17 years old, 18 years old, around there. But I read this book on how you can start a clothing line, right? And at the end, okay, the author, he says, hey, I recommend you read this book. It's changed my life. And literally, I was done with the book. I'm just, running through it, and bam, I see the words Think and Grow Rich. And I'm like, that sounds interesting. So later down the road, I end up running into this book, and man, that book changed my life. Like, it's changed thousands and millions of people's lives, man. I'm one of those persons that book has just completely changed my life. It's completely changed my life because just simply knowing that there's a recipe to achieve, whether you want financial success, emotional success, relationship success, fitness, health, whatever it is that you want in life, there's a recipe to get it. And I think once you find that secret out, your life will never be the same.
There we go.
Yeah.
So what exactly did you see change in your life after you read that book? How did you start behaving? How did you start looking at the world? Like, what really changed for you?
Great. So basically, I started learning more about what it is that happens to people who are successful and people who are not so successful. So what I've learned is it's all about what's in your mind. Okay. If you think about it, we're all born with a blank mind. There's nothing in our minds. And then as you grow older, whatever life you end up living out, it's basically what was poured into your mind. So think about it. What do you need to pour into your mind to really get what you want? So that's how I started changing. Obviously, I've never been as fit as I am now in my life. I've never been as emotionally stable as I am now in my life. And obviously, I'm just growing and growing. It's like either you're growing or you're dying. I'm not exactly where I want to be right now in my life, but I'm actually doing what is necessary every single day so I can go higher in my finances, higher in my emotions, higher in my health. So it's all about improving and having these beliefs of really just making a difference in your own life and what that will do for others. And it's interesting because one of the main things that I really, really think works is just because a lot of people say, oh, what motivates you, whatever, And I really think it's just having the mindset to really know, okay, what's going to happen if I don't do this? Where am I going to be in my life? And that's really what drives, I believe, myself, if not at a conscious level, which I do now, but at an unconscious level as well. Just seeing the poverty where I grew up in. Now, I don't want to fucking live there. Fuck no. I'm going to do whatever is necessary to fucking be fucking financially as free as possible and help others do the same. And as far as health, I have a lot of family who's really ill, and I'm saying, okay, I do not want to live like that. What do I need to do so that I avoid that? And I start having these new habits, eating these right foods and making it very pleasurable to seek that life that I really want.
Damn, man, that's incredible. I read this book. It's called The Compound Effect. And it's similar to what you said. Like, think about what would your life be if you don't do this certain action. In The Compound Effect, the author's name is Darren Hardy. And he has studied success. He's like the publisher of Success Magazine. Yeah. And what he found was success, and you hear this over and over again, that success is the compound of just daily actions. It's like the right habits, right? And what you find is you might not see a huge difference in 3 weeks or, couple months, but over the long term, you're going to see a tremendous amount of change in your life. So how long ago was it that you found like personal development?
I found personal development probably when I was around 17, 18 years old. 17, 18.
Okay. And how much of your mindset and your life has changed? How much happiness and fulfillment have you had in your life? What have you accomplished and because of you taking care of your health or you putting yourself in the environments where these successful people are? Like, how has it built you in compared to where you were?
Perfect, man. So I always seeing life as, you're never your past, you're more of what you are going to be in the future. So I always think of my old self, man, and I can't compare it, honestly. I can't compare what I was because it doesn't exist for me anymore. But I will tell you that it's just, for example, now my mindset, before I would never have imagined that it was possible to really be financially free. But now it's like, I know it's going to happen. It's only a matter of time. You know what I mean? So that right there is just the biggest change. Knowing instead of, wishing or having maybe it'll happen. So that's really where the personal development, kicks in, where you start believing your beliefs, you start having them in your body, knowing that, it's only a matter of time before you're financially free. It's only a matter of time before, you get that Lambo or that mansion you want or whatever it is that you want in life. Now it's all about obviously just being patient, being really patient. And I think that's one of the things that personal development will also help you with is that if you read these success stories of people who have accomplished all these great things, man, it's taken them a lot of hard work, dedication, commitment, sacrifices. And really, I think that's what a lot of people don't see, that may not bring them towards what it is they want. Maybe they're like, oh, getting rich, man, how do you do that? But they don't know that it's, like you said, constant steps, little things you change in your day, and it's compounds and gets you what you want. So that's really what I feel is it's changing me. Just getting to new habits of, working out when I don't want to. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Being smart about how I'm making my money, okay? Being smart about that, learning how to invest my money, learning how it is that I'm actually gonna compound and multiply my income. These thoughts I would have never had I not ran into personal development, had I not learned about how it is that money works. So it's really more about becoming more aware of what you don't know. So if you think about people who have a lot of money, they're doing things differently than someone who doesn't have a lot of money. So once you start developing the habits and the behaviors and the beliefs of the people who have money, then you're also gonna start doing what they're doing. You're gonna have the same impact in your financial life, or even with health. Someone who's not unhealthy, they're doing things in a certain way. So it's, what do I need to believe to be really healthy, to have that energy, to have the body I want? What kind of habits do I need to have? And really, once you start behaving that way, you're gonna see that it's gonna change your life. And obviously, you compare it back to what it is that you did. It's totally different. Totally different.
Dang, man, you touched on a lot of stuff there. One thing that a couple of things. First of all, when you said that, it starts with your belief, right? Now you have the belief that it's possible. One thing that I hold so true to myself is you get what you believe is possible, right? So my boss, he said this the other day, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Right.
So you think you can do it, you can do it. But if you just absolutely that's not for me, why even, you're not going to try, right? Your brain's not going to want to look for ways to how you could prove yourself wrong. Your brain always wants to be right.
Exactly.
Always. So it's always going to search out evidence to prove what you put into your brain to be right. So if you tell yourself I am unhealthy, or I'm not shit, or I'm not ever going to be shit, or my life sucks, well, your brain's going to obviously look for ways to prove that to be true.
Of course.
Right? Yeah. So, and one other thing that you talked about was investing your money. Now, I know you don't have too much investment in stocks, right?
Right.
Right. But you do invest your money. And where exactly does your money go?
Of course. Yeah, so my money that I'm investing now is going into myself, personal development, my knowledge, what I need to learn to obviously get to where I want to be. For example, I just spent $1,000 at going to Tony Robbins. That investment, it's going to obviously pay out itself 10 times because of what changes I will be making and what I've made and where it's going to head, towards as far as what's coming in the future. So that's how I normally see investing. But obviously, investments, once you have thousands of dollars to invest, I already see myself buying commercial buildings, hotels. This is the type of person that I'm becoming, that guy that does that. So this is what I mean about learning about investing in money. When you learn how to do that with your money, and you see yourself as that person, then you're going to start behaving as those people and start doing exactly what they're doing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So by investments, that's what I really mean. Learning how to invest in your mind so that everything else is easy. This is what even Tony Robbins says. He says financial success is 80% practical and 20% psychology. No. It's actually the opposite. It's actually the complete opposite. So it's 80% practical. No, 80% psychology, 20% practical. And obviously it's because of the beliefs you may have of what you don't know about the money, or, and then obviously your emotions. Try not to spend, $1,000 in your pocket. You have cash. You know what I mean? Besides just putting it in your bank account, waiting for an opportunity to pop up. But that's where it goes. That's how you do it. When you have $1,000 in your pocket and you want to go spend it, you have to be emotionally, stable so that you don't spend it. You actually invest it or put it in a savings account or whatever it is you do.
Now, let me ask you, man, because I see people who put their money somewhere else, right? They don't invest it into themselves. Right. And they are afraid. So if I say, hey man, you should go to this Tony Robbins event, right? You can get an early bird ticket. It's like $595 for 4 days. I can already hear a lot of people that I know, $595, what? Or even like $1,000. Sometimes it goes up to $1,000. Now, have you ever made like a crazy investment like that amount of money, and like ever regretted it?
You know what? I've never actually done that, honestly. The reason why is because I always see things as, as just try to see them as opportunistic as possible. So, for example, if I ever did, I probably just saw it as, I just learned a lesson that cost me $2,000, $5,000. I did make one bad investment at one time, and it cost me $5,000. But, I could have said, oh, man, I can't believe I lost this money. Like, my life's over. I just said, hey, you know what? I learned a lesson that cost me $5,000. Now I know better. Now it's not ever going to happen again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, where we want to go with that question was like, that's crazy. Was that like the car accident thing? Or?
No.
It was just like, do I know about it?
No, I don't think you
Okay,
know.
we'll talk about it some other time. But what I was really like going into was, like, when you spend that amount of money, right? Like $1,000 for an event. I've spent $5,000 for an event. Day with Destiny, 6 days, right? That's a huge chunk of change, considering that I was like 21, 22 at the time. I didn't make that much money, but I'll tell you what, the knowledge that I got from that event is so powerful. It's gonna carry me for the rest of my life. So another thing, and I know I know you're gonna agree with this. Like, I like to use my money to invest into things that are going to save me time.
Right, of course.
So by going to a Tony Robbins event while we're so young, right, that's going to shave off maybe a year or two of learning, of trial and error, trying to figure out on our own. Right. And one thing that I hone in to people listening to my podcast is your time is your most precious resource you have on the planet. You could get more money. You can have more relationships, but you're never ever going to get your time back. Of course. So I know you're really into the concept of time. So I'm curious, like, how often do you think about like your own mortality? Like, what do you want to accomplish in your life? Because that's really a big thing. Because I know you have big goals, and I know there's a lot of people out there that really don't have those big of goals. But I have certainty that you're going to achieve them, man. I can see it like 10 to 20 years from now, man. Maybe even sooner, man. Who knows? Like, of course, right? But like, what kind of life do you want to live? And who do you want to have that in your life?
Okay, man. So there's a few questions you asked, man. So I don't even know where to get started.
I want all of it.
All right, man. So pretty much as far as shaving off time, I think that's the best idea, honestly. And that's really how I've gotten to, make some drastic changes in my life. Just really listening to people who have had what I want, and, seeing how they got it and seeing how I can get it. So that knowing right there, it will shave off a lot of years if you didn't know that. If you didn't know that by listening to somebody, you can shave off time. Let's say you found this out when you're 40. You found it out a little bit too late. You know what I mean? It's better you find it out sooner, because then you can apply it sooner. So that's the other thing. Applying it and really just making it happen. How I feel about time and about my own mortality is, it's very interesting, man. I love, honestly, this subject because it's deep. Some people think it's scary, and it can be a little bit mysterious as well. I always feel like, our lives, everybody has a sands of time, and it's running constantly down, sands of time, but everybody's is different. Some people have more sand, less sand. So I always think, like, man, I don't even know how much time I have left. So I want to take as much action as possible every single day, just by having that thought, like, wow, I can be gone, next week, or, maybe next year. So if I died and I saw my life, in a flashback, and seen everything that I did, and I can go back and I'm like, wow, like, I can actually just change all of this, take this much action, and get what I want. So that's how I really feel about my mortality. And I think about it all the time. I think about, we're getting older every single day. The saying is, I think it goes something like, today's the youngest you will ever be and the oldest you've ever been. That right there, man, is so powerful, because tomorrow you're older than you were yesterday, and you're just getting older and older and older. And just thinking about really how old I've become, is just like right now, like, man, I'm 25 years old. I remember when I was fucking 15 years old, man. And even for you guys listening, if you have a sibling, you remember when they were a baby, or even your parents when they were younger, and now you see them, they look older. It's like, you're getting older, everyone's getting older. We're all getting older, and we're all gonna die someday. We're all gonna die someday. Once you actually, face that fact that, hey, death is coming for us all, and you only have a certain amount of time to do something here on this earth, that right there will, should at least get you to take some action. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Take some action, live this life that you have as best as possible. Live it in excellence. Make as much money as you can, be as healthy as you can, impact as many people as you can. Do whatever it takes to just live out the best life, so that if someday when you die, you can look back and they allow you to, like, you allow yourself to see everything you've done. You can be like, wow, I'm proud of that life. I'm so proud of that life.
Yeah, and one thing, like, what do you want to accomplish, man? What are your biggest goals, man? What do you see for yourself in your lifetime? What are the biggest things you want to accomplish?
Honestly, so what I really want to accomplish, some of my major goals, I have tons of goals, but I think the most powerful, impactful mission in my life is honestly to share everything that I've learned and everything that has changed my life with others. Because me not running into these people that I ran into, people that have changed my life, books I've read, seminars I've gone to, if I have not done those things, I would have not be who I am now. Mm-hmm. So these people have impacted my life so much, I feel like it's my duty to share that with others, so that they can one day say, wow, like, if I not ran into this guy, I would not change my life. And it's just knowing that you impacted somebody's life, even after you're gone, your legacy, what you're going to leave for people. And I think that really is just, it's more of a purpose and more mission-driven life than just, making money or anything else. So I think that really is what will drive me to do everything that I can towards, all the way till the end of my life. That really right there, just knowing, hey, I can change someone's life that was also in my shoes, someone who also grew up the way I did, someone who, wanted more or who wanted to improve their circumstances. If I can improve someone's life like that, that's, I live a purposeful life, honestly. That's really what it is. That's my main mission.
Dang, man, that you just hit the nail on the head. I'm right there with you, man. That's why we're making this podcast. Yeah, that's why we're both making this podcast. This podcast isn't to brag about how great we are or how far we've come. I mean, yeah, it's great. But ultimately, the reason why we're making this podcast is because we, like, specifically, I know I have been in the situation where I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself. I didn't believe that I could achieve a crazy amount of success. And I didn't believe that being a confident guy who can express himself was someone that I could be. And I want to give that to other people, because I know that if I went through it, like, other people are going through it as well. And just to have, like, my mark on this world is something weird, and I haven't figured it out, but for some, like, we're just, like, we want to help each other out, like, as far as, like, human beings, for the most part. But I do want to get into a few principles that are very powerful, that a lot of successful people abide by, that I 100% live my life by. And that's number one, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Of course. And basically, what that is you become like your environment, man. So who are some people that you really listen to, or what's your advice if someone doesn't have people that are positive in their lives? What can they do to make sure that they still get the messages of successful people in their head, even though their environment is shit right now?
Of course. And I think that actually plays a major role in your environment, because, if you think about it, everything that you are now is because of your environment, what's been poured into your mind. So those people around you, some people may be negative, some people may not be, as positive as you, or see a brighter future as you do. But I think it's very important to just feed your mind the right things. But before you do that, really just know that there's going to be these people that are pretty shitty. They pour all this garbage in your mind, but what you have to do is be aware of it. So someone's being shitty, someone's trying to pour garbage in your mind, and then obviously you can either get that person out of your life, which I really recommend somebody does, because obviously it's either your mind or shit. You want to be where you want to be, or you're going to get shit. But
you got to be selfish in that way.
Yeah, of course. You have to protect your mind and invest in your mind. And the best way, honestly, is just to do what everybody's done. Read the books, pour the audios in your mind, keep learning, and really just know that there's other people like yourself. There's other people that want to improve. There's other people that really want to make a difference in their lives, and start hanging out with more of those people, because that way it's the same energy going up to, at the same time. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I think that's one of the things I've done, honestly, is a lot of the people I was friends with back in the day, I don't even know where they're at right now, and it's not that I don't like them anymore. It's just like I've moved on from, that identity I had before, and now I'm going towards something else, and I like to hang out with people who are also on that same mission, who want to improve their lives, who want to make a difference. This is my new life. I want to hang out with those people. I want to meet those people, and I really like to keep all those people around me, because it honestly, like I said, your environment, you said 5 people you hang around with, that's who you become. Exactly. It's always good to learn from people who are better than you. That's probably the best thing. People who are already where you want to be. And it's obviously good to hang out with people who are on the same level as you, and even some people that are a little bit not where they want to be, that you can help come up. I think that's all important.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head again. Ty Lopez talks about the law of 33%. Is that what you're referring to? Yeah. Exactly. You gotta make sure that you hang around 33% of your people that you hang around with are lower than you, not necessarily in a bad way, but you can help those people up. Then you spend 33% of the people that are on the same level as you. That's your peers, that's your friends, and people you're gonna go to the next level with. And then the last 33% are mentors. Of course. And one thing that Ty Lopez talks about too is mentors are extremely powerful, extremely powerful. But a lot of people don't have those mentors in their lives. So one thing that I constantly hone in on this podcast is listen to those podcasts, listen to books. People say, listen, I don't have time to read a book. That's fine. Whatever you do, if you make time for things that are important for you, but if you're gonna give yourself an excuse, well, just listen to them.
Of course.
Listen to audiobooks. You can listen to that shit while you drive, while you clean, while you exercise, and make sure you can still put that in your brain, because a lot of people don't have those mentors in their life.
Right.
And by listening to books like Brian Tracy or Zig Ziglar or even Tony Robbins, or even people not even just like that, but say you want to be a very well-known surgeon, you want to be great. I mean, there's surgeons out there who have written books about how they have gotten where they've gotten, and mistakes that you can avoid to shave off your time to be great.
Exactly.
So I do want to I kind of went blank. I did go blank really quick, but I do want to end this podcast with where does someone get started? Someone's starting ground zero. They want to see a change in their life, but they have no idea where to start. Like, what would be your advice to that person?
Okay, perfect. So my advice to somebody who doesn't know exactly where to get started is really just to become a little bit more clear as far as what they want from life. What is your ideal life? If you, let's say it could be 5-10 years from now, what will your life be like then? And then start reverse engineering that process.
What exactly do you mean by reverse engineering?
So start seeing, what do you need to do to get there? Who do you need to meet? What environment do you need to be around? What kind of people do you need to go see? Or, what kind of knowledge do you need to have in your mind? What kind of beliefs do you need to have? All this, it's a compound, and it's a big recipe that will take you there. So for example, if you want to, become really wealthy in life, let's say, I don't know, selling water bottles. There's a water bottle right there. If you want to be really wealthy in life selling water bottles, start studying business, start reading books about business, and then start looking into these companies that are the most successful out right now, and start seeing how you can get to work maybe in that environment. Get started learning how the process works, how it is that they run things, and then really just getting more towards that environment and that basically culture. And that's really how you'll get started at doing anything, honestly. If you want to get a healthy body, how are you going to do it? Find out what you want to look like. Start looking for those people. Start seeing what they're eating, what they believe about food, what it is that they do every day, what their habits are like. So, but it really starts with just having clarity of what you want. Because if you don't know what you want, there's no direction to go. Yeah. Know what you want, and then you can actually start laying out a map of where to go.
Nice, man. That's amazing. Okay, so we had some minor technical difficulties with the video, so I had to get it fixed. But one last thing I want to end on is I talked to a lot of my old friends, and a lot of them, I wouldn't say a lot, I'd say probably all of them have no idea what they want. I asked them, so what do you want to do? And a lot of them shrug their shoulders and they say, I really don't know. And that's really common, especially with people who are in their early 20s, not only early 20s, but people even to the 30s, right? And we meet those people too. And it's scary because we're like, holy shit, like, it's not like we're ever just gonna randomly one day figure it out. You have to actually search for that shit. You have to work for it. It's never just like, oh, I'm just gonna play video games for, you know, several years and maybe one day I'll figure it out. What would be your advice to someone who has no idea what, because I know one thing about you, what I admire about you is you're very certain about what you want out of life and you're very decisive, and everything that you do is always propelling you forward. You never take a step back. Like, I know you'll never take a job at Target. Like, you know what I mean? Right? You're never just going to be like, you know, I'm making this amount of money and then like, oh, well, I need to find a job. So take a step backwards. But you have like a clear path on what you want out of life and you go for it. You make the decisions and everything. And I can see it moves you closer to your ultimate goal, and you're developing and you become more persuasive and it's amazing. So what would be your advice to have people help them find out what exactly do they want out of life?
Okay, perfect. So, you know, this question, you know, it's probably the $1 million question, you know what I mean? Because if I had gotten this question a long time ago answered, you know, I'd probably shave off even more time than I've been shaving off now, trying to shave off. But some of the things that I've heard and all this advice and even everything that I'm saying, it's stuff that I've learned from obviously the most successful people in the world right now. People I've read, people I've got mentored from, all this knowledge. But one of the things that I really found is, in order to really figure out what you want in life, is really just to ask yourself that question: what do I really want from my life? And really, really want to know what it is that you want. Let your soul speak to you, as if to say, you know, what it is that you want. Where do you see yourself? What it is, or even what it is that you don't want. What don't you want in your life? That's really another question. But I think most people do know what they want in life. The hard part is really believing that it's possible. That's really probably the hardest thing, is to really know that it's possible. So I would suggest is start learning from and reading stories about people who have achieved success and greatness, because most of the stories, they start out ugly. You know, start out people who've fucking been abused, people who've been ill, people who've fucking come from shit. All these people, most of the successful people, they've all started this way. And I think it's a general belief that most people think successful people were born there, or there's something special about them, or you know, there's just something like God-given, I don't know, gave them a special ability. There's no such thing. I think it's really just searching for what it is that you don't want, and then finding out what it is that you do want. That way you can start heading towards the right direction. So, you know, you can read books, start reading autobiographies of people, start, you know, searching for things that make you happy, things that, you know, would make a difference in your own life. And then this is how you really will find what you really want.
Yeah, you know, one big thing is a lot of people are so afraid to be alone in their own thoughts. And it's scary to confront that, to confront your fears, and to be real with yourself, and to actually dive in deep and think, who am I not? What do I really want? Who do I have to have in my life that's gonna help me get what I want? And what skills do I need to build to ultimately live that life? And that's a lot of time to spend, to think about that. Like, you're not gonna come up with that within a day. You might not even come with it like in a couple weeks.
Right.
It's gonna take a lot of time. But like for myself, man, it took so much time, not only being by myself, but also just, you know, like you mentioned, reading books, going to events, you know, make sure you invest in yourself. And it's very important to do while you're young. You know, you mentioned that very briefly. You didn't really, you know, make it a very powerful statement, but like Ty Lopez says, you know, the biggest factors of success is how young you start. Exactly. Like, I think you said like when you're 40 and you have, like, it's going to be tough. Yeah. Like, I listened to this guy, his name was Derek. He goes, listen, man, if you're 40 years old and you haven't done shit, you ain't ever gonna do shit. Right? Of course. Yeah. So while you're in your 20s, you know, a lot of people that are listening to this are in their 20s. That's like the demographic I'm going for. So listen, take this advice, like really listen to this. Like, these are two guys, we're not even close to where we want to be, but like, we both have the belief with 100% certainty that we're gonna get there. 100%. And we're on the right track. We have the right people in our lives. And it's going to take a lot of time to figure out what that is. But I'm sure you would agree that is the most important thing you need to know before you even move forward.
Yeah, of course.
Number one thing you need to know is, what do you want out of your life and who are you? Yeah. You need to answer those questions before you do anything, before you get another job, before...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, no matter what, you got to know it, because you're going to be wasting your time. Before you know it, we're going to be 30. Yeah. It's going to happen just like that. It's going to happen. The next year is going to pass by whether we're doing something about it or not. The next 5 years, the next 10 years. So we have to make the investments in our future now. And it's not easy. I'm sure you'd agree with that. It's fucking hard. Yeah. But you have to sacrifice your short-term emotions for your long-term gain. And I know you always are thinking about your future, right? One thing that successful people do are always thinking about their future and where their life's going to be in the future. And I see people who live in this fucking rut in their mind. They think about their past a lot, and I think it's good to think about your past as long as you can figure out the lessons you can draw from that, right? But don't think about your past and think, oh, woe is me. Like, if you know your past doesn't equal your future, you got to start being more future thinking and really get clear on what the fuck you want, and take the time. Make sure it's going to take some time, but you have to make the time to do it. It's not just going to come to you. So in conclusion, hey, Chris, man, I'm really grateful that you came out here, and man, it's super awesome, man. We got to do this. This is fucking sick. The first podcast I made with a guest, episode 47 of CEO Life. Hey, Chris, thank you so much, man. How can the people here, how can they find you? Where are you? Are you on Instagram? You on Twitter? You on Snapchat? Where do you want to share?
So mainly I'm on Instagram. You guys can find me, Chris of Mind. That's my handle, Chris of Mind. That's my handle. I'm on there all the time. You can check me out. I share a lot of tips with you guys as well. Share my own journey as well, how I'm doing. And, obviously you want to be in that environment. You want to see people who are also wanting to come up, and you want to hang around with those people. So, add me on Instagram, send me a DM. I love to answer any of your questions and even, get to know you.
Awesome, man. Hey, thanks, my brother.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. Stay tuned for more. Peace.